Welcome to Panel. Panel is the first AI agent system built specifically for visual takeoffs, pricing, and estimating. And with our long-running parallel agents, you could get more tasks done in a fraction of the time. In this walkthrough, I'm going to show you how to create your first takeoff, generate an estimate, and how to customize Panel to your workflow. Let's get started. I'm going to give my first agent a couple of drawings. I'm just going to drag and drop, and I'll use the voice to text feature. Create a quantity takeoff for the attached security drawings. So while this is running, a little bit about how our takeoffs work is that it's looking at visual detection of any symbols, it's looking at notes, it's looking at any callouts, and if you direct it to, it'll also use any schedules, details, riser diagrams to assist with any of the quantity takeoffs, as well as if you're looking for measurement takeoffs, distance, or area, it's important to direct the AI agent to perform that type of takeoff that you're looking for. Alright, so you can see here that we already have our response. It's giving us a breakout within the chat, and a little bit about the user interface here. You'll notice that a preview panel has popped up with my itemized list from my takeoff, and the log section showing us that an estimate has been created, which you'll be able to find under the estimates page. So I'll just close that off, give us a little bit more room here. I'll close off my chat section, and you'll notice that we have items by group and by page, as well as we have our visual markup showing us the drawings. Now if I click this button, I can see a split view of these two tabs, and it'll close off my chat section. So you can see that here. And by page, you can see that we have the itemized list on each one of those, showing us item, quantity, unit, and some notes. You'll notice that I'm in express mode, which is a faster version of our takeoff. If you're using precision mode, which I'll get into a little bit later in this video, you'll actually have the AI mark up any items on the drawing itself. Jumping back over to the chat section, regarding those speed modes, you'll notice that we have precision, express, and custom. Precision mode is where you'll get the most detailed itemized list, as well as that visual markup that I was referencing earlier. Express mode, this is where we ran this one, and you'll actually save up to 75% in time and also in credit usage compared to precision mode. Custom will actually use your model picked through any one of the latest Claude, GPT, or Gemini models, whereas precision and express use our proprietary pipeline with analyzing the best use case of our in-house AI system to generate that takeoff for you. To jump into an example with a visual takeoff, I'll just head up back over into my chats. I'll search an example here that I have built out. And you'll see here that with a visual takeoff, you'll get all these markups done by AI. And also, what you'll be able to do is, let's say there were a few items that were missed, you can click on any one of those markups, and then you could quickly add in, and it'll add to the count of that itemized list for you. What you can also do is you can calibrate the drawing, so you can already see that I have my preset calibration there. I'll reset my scale, and you could select from one of these quick scales, imperial, metric, or you could self-calibrate that, and I'll just set my ortho, so this way it locks my angle there. You can set that. Obviously this is very rough, but you want to be more precise with it and set that scale. From there, now you can create these additional distance and measurements on the drawing. So again, you can measure across from there. You could do an area measurement. So a lot of functionality with selecting and itemizing your takeoff. From here you could also add this item. So let's just say this was area, save, and now we've added that to our list. Now let's head back over to our original security takeoff, and I'll just expand all this. So my next step from here would be generating an estimate. You'll want to come back over to the chat, and even something simple like create an estimate. And what your agent is going to be doing here is looking at all your takeoff items. If you had multiple takeoffs, you could even direct it to say create an estimate from takeoff 1 or takeoff 2, or combined items from both of those. And it's going to be looking at 3 different areas. It's going to be looking at your price book, it's going to be looking at your sources, and it'll look to the web if it doesn't find a price in any one of those 2 areas. A lot of people ask, is this accurate? Now, the accuracy comes from your price book. So this way, panel is not telling you, hey, you should be pricing exactly this rate, exactly this amount. We optimized it to look at your prices first. So you could have your material, your labor, and even more things like equipment breakdown, markups. You could create custom columns as well within your price book to assist with the creation of any of those. They could be itemized material items, or they could be broader scopes of work or assemblies. All right, great. We have our estimate. You can see that within the chat, it's giving us a summary and also what it included, section breakdown, and this card that you could click and it'll bring you to this estimate tab. And you'll notice that it threw everything into the draft items. Think of this as kind of your sandbox, your playground, where you can ask the AI to generate estimates for you, and even individual price lookups or additional scopes of work if you want to add in, and it'll keep adding it to this section. Whereas once you're happy and reviewed any of these items, or even updated any quantities, markups, or breakdown, as I mentioned, between labor, material, equipment, subcontractor, or any custom columns that you have, notes for the customer images. Once you're happy with that, you can finalize those items, and then you'll see that in your final items. This way, you don't have to worry about the AI adding in additional line items that you haven't reviewed yet. Everything you reviewed is kind of locked in place here. So again, you'll notice that it created it into these categories. Again, if you wanted to direct the AI to create any sections that you'd like, again, be more specific with it. You'll also notice that it has these badges telling you exactly where it found those items, whether it was your price book or the web. I'll show you your price book and sources a little bit later in this video. A couple other housekeeping items. Markup, you also have the option to distribute or show as a separate line item. So if you have in your contract that you're allowed to show overhead and markup, and you want to display that particular line item to your customers, you could do that. Or if you want to blend in across all the other line items, you have the ability to do that. Discounts, and also the option for dual tax rates if needed in your province or state. Once you've reviewed and are happy with all their items, you can finalize all in batch or one by one. So to do that in batch, just click finalize. You can see it all moved over to the final items tab. From here, you're going to want to generate a scope of work. So you could ask your chat or click add scope, generate with AI. And what this is doing is it's looking at all your line items as well as your chat message thread, and leveraging your AI scope of work prompt that are in your settings. I'll show you this next, where you can actually format the structure of it and any standard inclusions or exclusions that you might want to add, so you're not directing or updating that message for each estimate, and it creates that standard across your organization as well. All right, great. So we have our scope of work. You can see that here. Inclusions, exclusions. These were generated by the AI. I could click save. All right, next you're going to want to prepare this for your client. Do this within my preview editor, and you can see this will display your logo, your company details. You can retitle this template from estimate, proposal, quote, whatever you like. And then you can see here my entire project overview with my scope of work. We have our table with our line items. Now, I do have on this template all the details here with quantity, unit rate, and so on, but you can customize as many templates as you'd like, even different languages. So I'll just go to this other one where you'll see I removed my scope of work. I didn't want that here, and I'm just displaying description and total. If you scroll down, there are those line items, the summary, and terms and conditions. So if I wanted to customize this, I would head over to manage your templates, which this would bring me to my settings. Setting tabs over here, estimates and templates. This is where you can quickly give your estimate, your template a title, select your language, whether it's default or not, markup distribution as we talked about earlier, even rounding modes, so it'll display the decimal places or not, or round to any of the next dollar figure that you'd like. Changing titles, scopes of work section, markup label. You can create templates with line items from your price book, so if you want to set those sections and items, you could create templates directly from that, and speeding up time. Displaying those main sections, quick toggle on and off, and the line items, as I showed in that previous template, you could quickly enable or disable any of those. Since I'm here, some more customization that you might want to do is that scope of work prompt that I mentioned. So this is where you can set your standard inclusions, exclusions, or the structure of it. So you can see I have outlining key deliverables, important details. You can be more specific with this if you wanted a certain structure of that. AI research, this section here is going to help with getting your local pricing whenever we're looking at the web. So like I showed you the price book and web badges, this is where when it's referencing the web, you can set your location, but you could also set any extra URLs. So if you have a favorite supplier that you might want your agent to go look up at, as long as there's a public catalog, it'll find that. Or if you want to put any block domains, so if you don't want it to go to, let's say, Home Depot and Lowe's, and you just want it to stick to other standard suppliers, you can set that here as well. All right, let's head back over to our agent page. Another big advantage of Panel is our parallel agents. So I'm in the new chat section. I'm going to start off with a quick cost lookup, but this time I'm going to go into precision mode, and I want to set to web only. While that's running, I'll put in another request here and have that running. So you can see now I have two agents running in parallel, and these are quick, easy examples, but if you're running takeoffs, estimates, you can imagine that as these have longer running times, if you're doing a takeoff with 20 pages, 50 pages, 100, you can start running multiple of these agents at the same time. So you can see this one's already complete, and if I go over to my pricing of the 200 amp panel installation, this is still running, and again, you get more done in a fraction of the time. All right, great. So you can see that this is complete. All my web sources are from the web, saving us time and not looking up our price book. And you can see that it's given us also the URL to each one of these items. Now let's discuss how price research is actually completed with price book, sources, and the web. So you did notice earlier that I selected my source. To create your price book, head over to the database. You'll notice that we have three tabs: sources, price book, and suppliers. Think of your price book as your standard Excel sheet. You might already have one that you're working with all your itemized material, labor, or breakdown as I have it here. If you don't have a breakdown, you just throw that number in the unit rate. Otherwise, put it into the labor, material, equipment, subcontractor, even the man hours, markup. And if you want to create any custom columns like travel, hotel, or anything else, you could just enable any of these columns. You'll notice that it's been added to our list here, our table, and your agents will use it as well In addition, you'll be able to access those new column fields from the estimate preview itself. Sources, this would be the next fallback to your agent. So if it doesn't find a price book item, think of this as your cheat sheet. Upload the last 5-10 estimates, or ask your supplier for a price list of your exact rates. Upload that here. One thing I forgot to mention, under the price book section, you can import a CSV. You could download our sample, which is essentially a breakdown of the format that you see here for the best accuracy of imports. Next, let's head over to our settings and talk about integrations. So to get set up with a few of the basics, you're going to want to connect your Gmail account. This would allow you to, one, send estimates by email to your customers, and two, you'll be able to leverage our expense agent where we monitor your inbox for any invoices, receipts, or any other keywords that you want under expenses. So you can see that you could connect multiple Gmail accounts, pull in signatures, and then this is where you would connect and enable your expense agent, add in any other keywords. Aliases, this is where you might have something like accounting at panelai.app or so on. You can enable any of these for sending, but also for expense monitoring. So what I would do is just turn that on, and now I can monitor any of one of those email aliases. All right, now with the Google Drive integration, this is managed by the company admin. So the first person who created the account would connect their Google Drive. We would automatically create a project folder for you that would be titled Panel Projects, and all project related subfolders. So anytime you create a new project, we'll automatically create a project folder for you with your project name and subfolders. You can also create and manage any subfolders. So if you wanted to add in something like, I don't know, I already have photos here, but maybe I want videos, you could add those custom folders and they'll be generated every time you create a new project. The benefit for this also is any system generated document like estimates, expenses, and invoices will automatically upload to their respective folders. If you're not using Gmail, you could also create an email forwarding address. So if you're using Outlook, we have instructions here on how to set that up. Payments, so this would be for our invoicing feature, which I'll get into in another video. But if you're going to be collecting payments on any accounts receivable invoices, this is where you can accept credit cards, wire, ACH, and so on. If it's outside of any one of these integrations, we have our REST API that opens the doors to thousands of different apps that you could build your own workflows and integrations. Lastly, let's talk about credits and usage. So let's go to our pricing page, and you'll see that we have a free plan, starter, pro, and builder. All of our paid plans have unlimited users, so you don't have to worry about per seat pricing. And what we do have are credits associated with each plan. It's important to note that if you ever exceed or hit that limit, we never force you to upgrade. You'll be able to continue work. All you would have to do is you would get automatically charged for an additional credit cost, and as you go up in plans, you get discounted rates for each one of those. You'll notice that we have max workflow duration, 30, 45, and 60 minutes. We will eventually be expanding this to 24 hours, and the benefit of that is that per agent runtime. We talked about parallel running agents, where if you're going to be uploading something like a 100-page drawing to perform a takeoff, it's going to get very detailed, especially on precision mode. So we're going to be looking at every page in multiple different ways, extracting information. So it's going to be running a lot longer. So if that's running on a 30-minute timeline, 45 or so on, then you could run multiple agents still with those workflow duration times. So you don't have to worry about the entire month or let's say all your agents. It's a per agent runtime. To give you an idea of what you could get done with these credits, it'll vary greatly based on the amount of work they have to do. If you, for example, we talked about this quick Tesla request on a price lookup. Something like this might even run with half a credit, maybe 1 credit. An estimate like this could take 10, 20 credits because we're looking at multiple line items. So you can see our 10 line items. I have to look to the web for each one of those, get us a price and bring it back. But something like a takeoff where we looked at multiple pages, extracted information, it's going to run with more, especially on precision mode. As I mentioned earlier, express compared to precision will be about 75%, up to 75% improvement and less credits with that. But you could always jump over to your settings, billing, usage. Disregard the really high credit usage here. This is my test account. But you can see that it's running with just a few credits at a time and your cost associated with it. So I hope this was helpful and informative. This is just scratching the surface of what Panel can achieve for you. Stay tuned for additional videos and pro tips. See you on the next one.